Hello and welcome to today's episode of Westfox. Today we're talking about, essentially, we made our dream crew. And so we took elements from different characters from the Star Trek show, and we said, okay, we're the captain of our ship, and we said, who would we pick on our crew based upon other crew members out there in all the different franchises. The rules were, however, you cannot pick Q, and you can't pick any one-off hyper-powerful aliens or beings that just... Because and you better not have this on your list, Philip, because I didn't specifically say that you can't pick the girl who was technically a Federation officer who was also a Q. So that better not be on your list, because that doesn't count either. You can't have any. You know what I'm talking about?
If you do, you would. You
guys
Philip. We said no Q. We say no Q at all in multiple text message. Reiterated like an hour before this video starts.
So if you have a Q in your list, you have to change it off because you can't have a Q.
She wasn't
way to go,
really
Southhound.
a Q.
Yes. I knew you were gonna go. I knew there was something I was missing. And I just thought of the other Q character in the show. I'm like, oh, there is the one Q girl.
I'm still waiting from Southhound somewhere down this list. He's going to name someone else that you're going to see both Fox and I go, no.
Yes. So here's the rule, so it makes it simpler. That way you can, on the other end of that. So yeah, we know super powerful aliens that are just asininely powerful. And if something is questionable, the other two parties can veto it. And it has to be questionable in the sense of like, okay, because I'm sure there's someone on someone's list. I know my list is not questionable because I made it. But
wow,
I'm guessing
egos, they all become captains and something happens.
I know,
here.
right?
Yeah. Goodness.
Southhound's list is the one I'm concerned about. I don't know. Shepard might come with something that surprises me. He'll be like, "Oh my God, who do you think?" But the idea too is in the sense of it is, we can kind of judge at the end and go, will your crew work decently well together at the same time? Because that's kind of opinion. It's really hard to factually say, yes, those characters work together, because I don't think the majority of my characters have ever interacted on any level. I could be wrong.
Neither am I.
But they're all pretty separate. Well, some of them have. But not in a major level. So to start this one off, I'll actually start with my first one. So my first officer that I have here is Spock. I just think he's a solid officer, and he rounds out the kind of a command structure, you know. And granted, just so you guys too in your numbers, we're coming at this that they're friendly with you too, that they're not, you know, antagonistic. Not that Spock's really an antagonistic character.
Oh, so it's not J.J. Abrams Spock.
Correct.
Okay.
Obviously, you can specify which version of your character. Mine is definitely like Wrath of Khan Spock. So if you have a one you want, if there's a giant variation in character, you can also, adjust that for you guys too.
Let them know the timeline.
Yeah, just so that, because there is a couple characters that could be like, oh, which version of the character do you want? So
right.
That's fair enough to modify that. So Shepard, go ahead and with your first officer.
Okay, so my first officer actually is, and I'm already waiting to see your guys' reactions, but Odo from Deep Space Nine.
Okay.
Ugh.
That's actually not a bad
He was an investigator.
Yeah, but he was. Well, give your reasons.
Well, my reasons that I have on there is, yes, he has his manic conviction and a sense of justice. He won't be afraid to voice his opinion to me as the captain. At the same time, when I give my decision back, he's going to hold that line and be true to it. And again, kind of have the same. I feel like in a very similar way to Spock, he would have the same structure as being first in command. Secondly, he's a shapeshifter, so there's a lot of tactical options to him as being even a first.
So shouldn't he be at tactical?
No, because I have someone better for tactical.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I'll admit I hate the entire DS9 crew. I it's the worst of the Star Trek shows.
I actually really enjoy Odo
terrible.
and Quark. Oddly enough,
disagree with you on
the
that.
two characters
Honestly,
that I like the most.
I don't know how.
No,
Odo
don't put Odo on mine. What are you
He's
doing?
gonna write
No,
what yours is.
Yeah,
Southbound.
and first, and
He's
just copy and paste it. And I was gonna say, it's hard to say that the DS9 is worse, because have you not watched Discovery and Picard?
Oh, well, I'm not including those. I'm talking about
those weren't included. I can say for myself, audience, Enterprise, Discovery, and Picard are nowhere on this list of characters.
Yeah, I mean, who would ever add any of those? characters. They're
Like I really wanted Trip. I really wanted Trip from Enterprise. Michael from Stargate Atlantis. That's who I was really thinking I needed.
Right? That's who you really exactly. You want Michael. That's right. Not
I
Trip.
want Michael.
Michael.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yes.
Philip, your first officer.
My first officer would actually be Lieutenant Commander Data.
All right.
Yep, that's a good choice.
Obviously,
good choice.
solid choice.
And him with my tactical, because when I was first thinking individuals, but then I realized when we were talking about a legitimate team, I realized that you could pull from so many pools if you needed diversity. So I realized I originally had him elsewhere. I was like, oh, why would I bother doing that? Because I could have the best of both worlds in certain positions. So Data is definitely there because he's someone who he can play by the book and be tactical, or I should say critically and very systematically run down what needs to be done and or accomplished in a situation. But we've also seen him work outside the box. And we've also seen that taking command, he does an excellent job.
Oh, yes.
When he was put Worf in his place and when he took over the Enterprise, he was phenomenal because you get this kind of concern like, what's a robot going to feel like running a ship? Is he actually going to be able to have does he have the wherewithal to understand how to interact with people? And I think the end of that conversation is the best part. He goes, I'm sorry but I'm reducing him to his basic parts. Is that the very end where he goes, I hope this hasn't ended our friendship. That was almost a bit of humanity.
Mm-hmm. Oh
that
yeah,
pops out
scene,
of him in that scene,
Worf,
right?
So I don't know which episode that's from, but there's an episode where Data takes command, and Worf kind of is being kind of a douche towards him and being kind of passive aggressive with him, and so Data's
he's acting like the kid to the substitute teacher. He's pushing the bounds because he knows he can't. That's what he is.
So Data has to essentially dress him down a little bit, and it's such a beautiful conversation between the two characters. And it's such a stark difference from what we saw in Picard and other shows like that. So I'll have to do a clip of it eventually. But we'll do a video on that one because I think it's actually worth to analyze that scene. So moving on to tactical.
Can I just say that I can see,
go ahead.
At least from all of our first officers, we're actually very, even though they're all different, I think kind of a similar reason for why we picked them, a more analytical or logical mind that's able to work outside the box, but then is going to be a good, a decent command structure for everybody else, but still someone above them who can maybe sometimes countermand that purely logical or analytical nature.
Yeah, because
I would say captains.
I'd say on the spectrum, we're on the more loose cannon spectrum. That we're the more rogue.
I think we're all more Kirk kind of captains than Picard kind of captains.
So we know that having
or Cisco.
We know that having a more by the book / level-headed secondary officer is beneficial to all of us as what we are as personalities. So I think that's why. Also, is someone else who all the characters are also very strong in their own personal being of who they are. They're not going to someone who's going to get pushed over by us either, which in this case is also very important. They're not going to be, a beta type personality to be like, oh no, the captain says it, and you're like, no, it's okay to talk back to us because sometimes we need to hear it.
Yep, not on my flagship. You better have a strong personality, or you're going to get transferred.
Jeez. So in our tactical
I don't know.
security,
I was my ship's only an Oberon class, like little sucker, so it's okay. I'm good.
Oh no, I have a sovereign. I have a
Bertha. There we go. I couldn't think. It's just good.
I only take sovereign classes or higher, man. I don't know what you're talking.
That's right.
Like the USS Relativity would be like my backup ship or something like that.
Oh
right.
Oh god. I would take a Miranda class if we were going classic. I would at least go to a Miranda. The Obertha.
Ugh, that's such an ugly shit.
Or the Relativity. You mean the Relativity? Yeah, just on the nose.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the Relativity's on the nose.
So moving to tactical and security. So I didn't put security on here, so if I apologize, this is a tactical and security, which will obviously...
Well, that just ruins everything.
Oh, I know, right? Son of a bitch. Which I know...
like there goes one of my cues.
And you'll see this when this is obviously a my pick here with Odo as well here. Being security and stuff like that. Just because he was such a strong, him being able to shapeshift. I mean, it just puts him a league ahead.
He's actually one of the only security officers that actually gets his guy most of the time.
Yeah, and on the space of it, I do really like Worf as a character.
The only competent security officer.
Worf loses always.
Every fight.
It's a little bit of a joke.
It's so true. It's so bad.
And it's kind of reverse plot armor, right? It's kind of like designed that in technicality, he would be powerful enough to technically take these characters down. But in the show itself, he pretty much
he's trying to fight Data. He tries to fight the Borg, or the person he's fighting is like been superpowered or made God, or it's Q. Every single time they go out of their way to make him in a fight, it's always with somebody supernaturally powerful than him.
If it's with Klingons, it's 20 Klingons, so he still gets beat by his own people.
As a character, I definitely like Worf. However, if I was picking from the pool that we are picking from, I would have to throw Odo in there. And a Worf could be like his follow-up, maybe like his secondary guy. But I said Odo is super strong. His abilities, especially when he was near his peak. Talk about someone who can make sure things are going okay when you need something in a tough situation. He's pretty powerful in that sense. He's actually an OP character in some ways without being ridiculously like OP in the sense of like a Q or something like that. So, all right, Shepard, your tactical officer.
So my tactical officer, and actually Hound kind of already foreshadowed it, because I had a toss-up between Data as my tactical and Odo. Switching between either first officer or tactical was actually something that I had for a while. But in the end, I chose Data as tactical, more because as much as I Odo as security and tactical, yes, I already get there, but I was also kind of thinking the sense of at least tactical for a ship. And I think that Data still is going to have maybe a little bit extra competency in that and be able to come up with a little bit more than Odo might. But that's where I liked Odo as kind of a commander to kind of still be as a part of it. And since he's good at understanding people and their reactions, I think between him and Data as kind of that structure, I thought was a very strong. But it was kind of always a mix between those two of first officer and tactical.
Yeah, I think it's a strong choice. I think both all of our two are all pretty solid. So Southtown, go ahead with your first one. I mean, your tactical.
Yeah, it's funny that you said that, because that's the exact reason I didn't choose Data for tactical, because sometimes he is too systematic and sometimes he isn't able to think outside the box because it's almost a procedural mindset. So that's why I ended up putting him more in a lock and key position. And first, the person that I thought would be perfect for tactical, since his job was taken by me, is James Tiberius Kirk at tactical. That guy doesn't like to lose. He will come up with anything he can to defeat somebody, even cheat at the Kobayashi Maru. That's the type of person I want sitting at the chair thinking, what do I need to do to destroy that ship in front of me? Or what do we need to do to retake our ship or invade or do whatever? That's the type of mentality and brass balls that I want attached to someone who's going to be taking those. I mean, come on. Kirk can fight. He fights Klingons, for crying out loud. I mean, that's pretty cool.
He fights everybody. I mean, you're going to have to buy a lot of shirts for him. You're going to have a lot of shirts for him in the replicator.
He is a brawler. And the only thing I would say, on in the sense of against Kirk is in Wrath of Khan, his tactical sense was not the greatest at the beginning of this episode.
Yeah, but I call that bad plot.
And it didn't need to be there. That was one of those ones that didn't need to be there. In the Wrath of Khan, it's the only flaw in that movie for me.
It's true.
Is Kirk's decision to not raise the shields.
Not raise the shields.
Was his only mistake.
Well, the fact that they don't run around with their shields on all the time through space is absurd.
It's a power drain.
There's a level of power. There's a level of power consumption on it.
They have like unlived power on those ships. Let's be honest.
But the moment you have some kind of questionable thing, the fact you wouldn't raise your shields. Even for it turned out to only need them.
They aren't raising their hails. Well, you know what? We better not raise our shields. We wouldn't want them to be worried.
Yeah, max shields, forward deflectors. Yeah,
no, I did want to say, it's actually interesting because I'm curious if I will say for at least my list, I don't have any of the captains as anywhere else on there. Especially, I really was thinking about wanting Kirk somewhere, but I had a hard time always to myself going, do I want a personality who's supposed to be captain somewhere below me in my command structure already? And that was kind of my
great idea, personally.
Kirk's okay, but I mean,
I don't know. It kind of felt hard to me because I'm like, I feel like if I put him anywhere, he can do more because he should be a captain. So it's kind of hard to put him in a list for me.
There, I would say Phil is probably putting him down in his younger years. Because he's fighting.
Yeah,
he's putting him like almost. Type feel. He was a good first officer to Pike. So I would say that if you put him in that mode, obviously not Admiral mode.
Spock.
Oh no, was it Spock?
That's right. Spock was the first commander.
What ship was he on before? I forget what Kirk was on before.
Well, actually, he was brawling in Iowa and getting drunk and fighting with people.
Okay,
Don't you
that's the
remember?
version. Yes, that's the version Philip has on his ship.
Oh,
Good
that's
luck
the
with that
version
one.
you're going for.
Never.
Okay, good. Yeah.
I would never have Pine on my ship. Not a chance. You dirty William Shatner or bust.
Okay, so
I like Chris Pine as an actor. It's just
he's
just
fine.
just
I-
not
I
Star
can
It's
Trek.
funny. I don't.
he's fine. All right, so science division for me is,
it's a Chris
as you
thing.
probably guess, Data.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it starts
Okay,
falling
alright.
into the same reasons we've all talked about. He's super smart, and again, he falls into the list of the characters, and you'll see that the next couple ones he ties in even stronger to. In the sense of what
You
were
put
saying
him in more than one section. You're not allowed to do that.
No, he's only in one. But I mean, in the sense
He's
of
got
he works
Data
well.
and B4.
He works.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. No, I didn't do that. So yeah,
That would have been clever.
Data's, obviously Data. He's freaking smart. He can do multiple things, and he's a strong asset. And I think that in the science division, sciences type stuff, scanning. Again, this is your bridge crew. So what the nice thing about it
Scanning.
is that all these people work together.
Yeah,
My specialties
exactly.
might not particularly be bridge crew. You'll see what I put them as when we get down there. But the rest of the crew, obviously medical's not technically bridge crew, but they have a command level in them.
Yeah.
But
Scary.
the most of the people here, they're just you want them to work together. Like I said, these are people that have to work together, and they can lean on each other's strengths and weaknesses as well. So you don't expect that each of these people are going to be like, this person can do everything of everything. You're like, well, if someone's like, hey, we have a situation and we need some muscle, you're like, hey, Odo, Data, go deal with it. And
Yeah.
you're like,
Right. Seriously.
you're like,
Go forth, my children.
you're
and
like, go deal with that. Go deal with that
Well,
situation down
technically,
in the cargo bay.
with an Odo, you could have two Datas walking around, just for 16 hours.
Yeah, you could. So, Shepard,
Just really
Yeah, you
screw
can't
with people
compute
because
like
Odo
Data.
could be whoever he wants.
right?
Shapeshifters. Ugh.
Changelings. All right. So for myself, for the science officer, it's really funny because Westfox and I were about to have a very similar list, kind of going opposites here. But I did not go with Spock. I went with 7 of 9
Okay.
for science officer.
There's a waste of 7 of 9.
Please.
You'll see.
What station is she at?
see.
Just kidding.
What was that?
I mean, what station is she at? Visually.
Stand right here. There's no station here. It doesn't matter.
That's the science
Trust
station
me.
right here.
It's like the Voyager one with Harry Kim, and it's like the Harry Kim station, but it's in the front of the ship now, and you're like, what?
Right?
Why?
Standing there.
I don't
Why?
understand that.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
just to be honest,
Well, okay.
I would
let me
choose
tell
an
you my
entire
reasons
ship of 7 of
for-
9.
Let Chris.
Let me tell you my reasons for.
Yeah, go
So
ahead.
7 of 9, obviously.
Hot.
Well, if I can't have Yeoman Rand, then I'm getting 7 of 9. All right. But no, access and knowledge of Borg technology and anything that the Borg has assimilated. So I think just the knowledge base there is extremely helpful. And then I think working in tandem with Data as tactical, I think would be extremely just helpful as a mix between the both of them being able to come up with some extremely awesome ideas for defense, offense, and then being able to deal with anything that's going on. And like I said, just far more knowledge about the universe just because of what she knows from being assimilated and what's been assimilated.
See, this is why I made a different choice for her later, because I understand what you're saying, but I don't think you understand what science is. What you're saying is the role of where I put her as engineer. Someone who's going to start developing technology
See, now you're jumping
inside
ahead.
the
See,
ship.
Now you're the jet.
Yeah, but I'm saying she would be able to understand. But I'm saying she would still be able to understand this, because I was trying to think the same thing. But it's like the science officers. I mean,
if she was,
they're seeing
Spock
everything
was
that's happening
Spock
on there.
was a science officer on
yeah, on the original
series.
Enterprise.
So you're putting her in that
Yes, he
position.
was.
I think that's a totally fine position for 7.
like I do get what you're saying, Philip, of that her in the application.
Position's
of,
fine.
Of
I was just saying
science.
his application was more engineering.
And
is
science
the way I
actually,
felt.
well, and science kind of goes all around.
Harry Kim didn't do squat.
Harry Kim was operations.
Yeah, he was operations.
Oh, who was science on Voyager? I thought Harry Kim was sci.
I don't think there was
No?
a science officer on Voyager.
That's convenient.
Wait, was there?
Yeah,
No,
because
there wasn't.
Tuvok was tactical. Because Tuvok was tactical.
Tuvok was tacky. Yeah.
I think it was that.
Seven
It was the
technically Seven became the science officer with astrometrics.
Yeah.
Astrometrics
I
was
think
the closest.
it was the girl who gets pregnant. I think was technically their science officer. You know, the girl who has the. Because then they have the child who has got the little horns, who does the stupid tree things with Neelix and all that. The kid, Wildman. I think that's who the original science officer was her, and she's in that far little corner. And sometimes then B'Elanna's over there in that corner of like when she's on the.
Yeah.
All I know is the science and station
I think
in
that's
Voyager
what it
was
technically
not
was.
used very much.
No, it's not.
And we're all like, wait,
It's pretty
who was
much
the science
ignored.
officer?
That's my point.
So Southbound, your science officer, please.
I actually put Barkley at science.
Okay.
The guy's brilliant.
Barkley.
He's a genius, but he can keep to himself because he's kind of, let's be honest, the R word. So he should just sit there over
Reginald?
there and be researching and looking at things. Reginald?
As
And
long
he's
as you
over
keep
there
him
and he
from
should do
being
his thing.
addicted to the
Holodecks?
Yeah, him and Harry. Just don't let him and Harry Kim hang out,
You're-
and you'll be
you're
fine. Falling in
good.
love with their holodeck characters.
Do you have Harry Kim on your ship there, Captain
Dude,
Southend?
actually, you know what's hilarious? I would say all of us are going to have a, well, I don't know. All I know is a couple of us will have hologram addicted people.
Barkley was brilliant. I mean,
Oh, no,
once you got him
Barkley's good.
going and got to give him confidence and settled him in and allowed his character to
Oh, no,
grow, he
Barkley's-
became very, very effective, and he'd be perfect post TNG Barkley.
I would say at
I
least
would
Voyager-
say that's you almost want. You won't
Voyager
even want
Bark-
post
Voyager
Voyager.
Barkley. Voyager
yeah,
Barkley.
Voyager Barkley's for
Voyager
sure.
Barkley
Yep,
on my
and that's
ship.
why I
I
said
won't
get to
take
say.
pre-Geordie.
Pre-Geordie
Barkley.
Barkley is worthless. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So navigation for me, we'll get because we're gonna start having some repeats here.
You know, I think it's a funny storyline, but come on, let's be honest. How could someone like that get on the Enterprise?
well, 'cause
Seriously,
he was freaking
the guy
smart.
couldn't even tie his own shoes.
He was freaking smart, dude. Like,
Yeah, it was-
like he was
he had-
probably
he had the-
in the sense
Yeah, but
of it,
smart doesn't get you anywhere if you can't actually accomplish tasks and interact with people.
I think he got far
it does
enough
in a
because-
government operation like Starfleet.
that's a good.
Like,
Yes.
come on, like let's just call it what it is.
Yeah,
He looked good on paper, Philip, and he got in. That's what it
he
comes
looks good on
down
paper.
to.
All right, so my
That's fair.
navigation is 709 myself, and the
I
reason is
knew it.
because she was astrometrics and does good at that kind of stuff. So I'd probably have her lead the astrometrics type stuff, that kind of sciences. Again, it kind of falls into her. It was her specialty in Voyager was that thing. So she actually had a passion for it as a character, and so I figured, hey, throw you in here. And granted, we're talking like the AA team of all the A teams that we're trying to pull together. So you're going to have some level of like overlap with this. Because there's a lot of positions you could put her in. You could pretty much put her into any of the positions.
I mean, other than medical, pretty much.
Other than
yeah.
medical. And I don't know if
I
I'd
wouldn't
have
put her as
Well, she
first
trained.
officer.
She trained with the doctor.
That's
Yeah,
true, but I wouldn't
feel
put
like
her there.
I don't think it's her, like as a character, I don't think it was her passion. Like if you're like,
It wasn't,
hey, what
it
is
wasn't a
seven pa-"
cornerstone of her abilities,
Yeah, so
and I wouldn't put her as first officer.
No, she'd be too strong-willed.
Well,
That's first
because
officer.
she's a learning character, right? So she does arc still. So if they hadn't ruined her, in my opinion,
Oh
in
no, not
Picard-
anymore. She's strong, perfect, bisexual. She need no longer grow her character anymore.
Yes,
that
they-
what-
And she
Is
drinks
that-
and curses at Picard. So she's made that. She's peaked. She's perfect now.
She's
Nailed
it.
it.
truly perfect. All right, navigation for you, Shepard.
Whiskey straight.
Navigation for me was good old Mr. Paris, Tom Paris.
Really?
Yeah.
I think that's
Both
I think-
for he is a good pilot. I love that the idea of having someone who enjoys old school Earth stuff and that ability. So it's his
Okay.
character as someone I would enjoy in general. He's a darn good pilot, and yeah, I think
That's
I had
fair
too
enough.
much fun with that. He's a
That's fair
good. I
enough.
think he's a
Yeah.
good norm, like kind of good grounded character.
Yeah, no, he
that
could
follow
bring.
through.
He definitely won't cause, as a character that I wasn't even considering. He definitely doesn't cause strife for your crew. He's definitely he's not a strife causer. I mean, he might be a little bit rambunctious, because him and Harry Kim.
Yeah, and
But if
but I was
Harry's
kind
on
of
your
thinking of
crew,
him
you're
as
good.
at his like married years at the end of
Okay.
Voyager, where he's like he's a pretty, You know, he's doing his job and he's doing
settled
it well.
down. He's settled down.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
all
he's
right.
not his first few rambunctious years right after crashing his shuttlecraft into Tahoe.
Well, see, he was kind of like he was kind of like a test pilot guy too, almost like prototype junkie was kind of his thing. So
Yeah.
I agree. I was
Because then he would help
That's who
design parts of the ship with my engineer and make some fun, you know, aesthetically pleasing controls that aren't.
Well,
I get it.
basically, that was his own hobby ship. I mean, we're lost
the
out in the middle of
Delta
nowhere,
player's
but
amazing.
hey, Captain,
Can we build a ship? that I
Captain,
like?
do you mind if I?
If I build a
What
hot
did
rod
you
in
like?
No,
space,
he literally said this. He said, "This is what he said."
Seriously,
Can we build a hot rod in space? No. 7 will put Borg technology on it. Yes.
sold.
Yes.
Yeah, seriously, that's exactly.
will that work, Seven? It'll work. All right, Mr. Paris.
Thank you. It'll work.
You're allowed to
Yeah,
build your
I
Borg
actually-
hot rod ship.
You're right. Yes. You know, this was actually a hard one for me because navigation isn't really focused on. It wasn't actually focused on as a position until we got to Paris on Voyager.
Sulu.
Because they made a
Sulu's.
yeah, but
Sulu was
he
navigation.
was just there. He was like as important as Chekhov. He was just more.
Okay.
You know,
I mean, I'm not gonna say.
banter
I'm not
I will
gonna say
agree.
they
with-
I
were-
will
was
agree with
actual
you.
use.
They
They
had
are
those
the
positions,
banter
but they were
characters.
very wiped
Yeah, yeah.
over most
Okay,
of the time.
that's fair.
Yeah, well, that's my point. In Voyager,
Well, it
it
was
was most used because the ship's like flying around and it was actually being very maneuverable. It was kind of the first time that it
Yeah,
actually
saw
I'd
some-
agree.
I mean,
the Voyager was far
space
more
flight.
I was
maneuverable
thinking
than
there's so many people you could choose from. Paris was a good choice. Worf was a good choice. Quark would have been an amusing choice. Ferengi are devious little buggers. What a great navigator would be. I mean, those guys like know where all the sneaky parts are. Oh, this is where we could hide, Captain. Well, how would you know that? It doesn't matter. You know, it's
Because
like- it's just that's a good
my
place.
gold press latinums hit on the other side of the nebula.
Yeah,
why.
seriously.
All right, so who'd you pick?
I actually landed on Quark at first, but then I thought, as a group dynamic, I felt that having a Ferengi on board would probably end up with a very unfortunate economic situation on the ship.
Everyone's
I thought
broke
money
on the
doesn't
ship.
exist.
They're like, why is everyone doing Quark's chores? He's created a system. Right, so who'd you pick?
He's Ferengi. So I ended up going with Wesley.
Oh God.
Are you kidding me?
No, I went with Riker actually.
Oh, okay.
The reason I went with Riker is because he
I
originally
thought we were going to have to use
was,
some veto power here, Westfox, because I was about to be like, are you...
you know, he was
Get
always
Wesley.
getting ready to go up to captain, but his previous post before that was at navigation, and he's got a lot of good tactics that he likes to apply. And there's he's the one who flies the TNG saucer down. So, my boy.
Doesn't Deanna technically the one who controls it down
What?
in Generations?
Data did.
No, it was Riker.
It was Data. You're talking at first.
You're talking about Generations?
You're talking about Insurrection, where he pilots the ship with the.
It's an Insurrection
control
where
arm.
the little joy, the old
Yeah.
eye joy pops up from the console.
Yes, that was
instead of
Insurrection.
But it was a cool scene. So I know he knows what he's up
I think it
to,
was
and he knows how to
Insurrection,
get work
Or
done.
was it I don't know, why won't that change the letter? Or was that
It's an
Nemesis? Because Nemesis does, when he crashes the ship, no, it had to be
No, because
it
he
was
does that weird. I think it's Insurrection because they do the plume of
yeah, it had an Insurrection.
antimatter
Yeah,
outside
yeah,
and
yeah.
launch
Yeah,
on
that's
fire.
what it was.
So
So
yeah,
I'm-
you're right. That's where it was from. So he likes to get. I mean, you want to talk about that tactile function, right? Making the ship maneuver in a way that you couldn't just punch in calculations in the ship.
well,
I
you
thought-
could, but yeah, I get what you're saying. Why is that doing
Don't
that?
argue with me.
So
Anyway, I can't believe you started typing in Wesley. Are you kidding me?
I don't
The only
know.
reason
You
I'd have
said
Wesley on my ship would be for sacrifice to something.
I thought you had like a mental breakdown. I don't know. I mean, he was like. I mean,
Wesley.
I mean, in the sense of the
Southtown was like,
character-
I can't have Q. Wesley Crusher.
I mean, in the sense of it, I was like, maybe he's going for the like. Well, Wesley can't do anything wrong in this world, and he literally is like a.
Oh my gosh, don't give it-
He was
no.
a Mary Sue character, like.
Oh my
literally,
gosh, completely.
Like you know, we make fun of Rey from Star Wars being a Mary Sue character, and like, oh no, men never have that. You're like, dude, if you know how to Wesley Crusher, like that character was like. Geordi and every crew on the ship was like, this doesn't make sense, and Wesley'd walk in and go, oh, this is easy. Boop, 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 boop. Magically
even
fixing
worse, the Traveler was like, "You're so amazing. I want to show you all my wonders because you're Wesley Crusher."
Let me kiss your forehead.
I didn't. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I didn't know what a Mary Sue was back then, but the character always grated on me. You're just like, the kid was obnoxious. It was a scene character, but I didn't have any words to put to it when I was younger. It wasn't until I got older I'm like, oh my gosh, he is the titular male Mary Sue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, there's well, he also still works and he's douchey. I mean, even he wasn't really acting much different than he acts personally.
I think he's brought that personality on now for his other stuff, though. To be honest, I think now it's like his shtick. To be honest, I don't know.
You think the shtick thing?
Oh yeah, now it's a shtick. I think because
Okay.
Everyone hated him for it, and then everyone loved to hate him.
It's
for
a
it.
terrible
So
shtick.
now let me just like continue
and now
to
it's
be
got
it.
him
It's
work
like,
though, so I can't really fault the guy for making him work. And I don't know if anyway. All right. So engineering
is that really
for
work?
me. Engineering for me, I chose Geordi. I like Geordi. I think he's a great.
You
add
do
to
like
my
Jordan.
crew.
You've always been into that guy.
Yeah, I like him. It's probably because
visor.
it's probably reading Rainbow. Yeah, it's probably, there's
Don't
probably
take his word for it.
there's probably a legitimate like tie-in from that. But I've always liked the character. I think he's a solid engineer. And
That's funny.
as much as I love Scotty was a little bit of a
Poor Scott. He was
I
the
liked-
redneck of compilation of ship parts in space. Let's be honest.
He was a
He wasn't a
great
by
guy.
the book boy.
Like I said, if Scotty was around, I'll have a drink with that guy any day. We'll scotch and have some good times. But
Seriously.
man, if I had to choose between him and Geordi in my engine bay in a tight situation, I'd have to go with Geordi. He's pulled it out
Oh
more.
no, that sounded odd.
Right? I don't know if I would want.
If I had to be stuck in a Jeffries tube with either Geordie or Mr. Scott, I'm gonna take
Scotty brought
Geordie.
it. Yeah. So that's what my engineer there. He said it's one of those ones. So
That's
Shepard,
funny.
your engineering choice.
Okay, well, my engineering choice is Montgomery Scott. Sorry, that's just
That's fine. That's
the
fine.
man who
Montgomery
made
Scott.
and my reasoning being, and actually,
I might
have
be
to
onto
admit,
something, laddie.
I have to admit, I like Geordie as a character sometimes, but as an engineer, it's not like he was ever really showcased. To be quite honest, I don't really actually feel it. I will actually say someone who I will actually put as my
Is it
I
two
would go
T's?
with two T's on that. Yeah, two
Yeah,
T's.
it's two T's. It's actually someone who I think I'll put as one of my special characters, but actually someone I would think is a far better engineer, or at least get to see it showcased more, is Miles O'Brien.
Well, okay.
Oh,
That's
like
fine.
a DS9 stuff.
O'Brien's okay. O'Brien's like a specialist though. He was kind of like
I don't.
I don't think he was a general like your ship. I mean, I could be wrong, but I feel like O'Brien was always more
he does a little.
transporter,
It's like
and then he kind of
He's a
grew into
pushover.
it.
nah.
Yeah,
I like
not someone I would be.
O'Brien.
I wouldn't waste
yeah.
my time with him.
But my reasoning for Montgomery Scott obviously is, yes, the man who kept everything going on originally, and then everything going forward he pretty much designed. So it's like being a gun. It's like
true.
It's like being a gun owner and then getting to be around like Browning.
Okay, that's fine.
Like
That's fine.
if I can be around Browning and get to learn from
Nostalgia
him about everything
is a
about
fair
it, I'm
enough
gonna
reason to
have
someone on
him.
your crew. That's a fair enough reason if you want.
Yeah,
someone
that's
on your
fair. I can see that.
crew. All right.
I mean,
Southbound.
what he tells Geordie himself, laddie, I made the rules. I know what it can do.
I made.
It's like
them.
I know what the tolerances are. I
do-
made them, and I know it can go beyond it. I want the guy who knows it goes beyond it.
I do love the
like-
one when he's when Geordie's like, it'll be done in 2 hours. And Sky's
He's like, how long will it really take you?
He's like 2 hours. And Sky's like, no. You tell them 4 and you get it done in 2 and you're a god.
No, you tell
Right?
you tell
Don't
him
you
eight-
understand
you
how
tell-
I become
no,
a miracle worker?
That's not. You tell him it's 8. The captain asks you to do it in 4, and you do it in
yes.
2.
In two.
Because it's Kirk
You
who
always
actually. It's Kirk.
multiply it
It's,
by. Yeah, he's like, you always
it's a
multiply it
factor.
by
He's like,
4.
you always multiply your times for repairs by a factor of 4, and he goes, yes, sir. How else would I have my thing of being a miracle worker? It's how he says it exactly. It's just great.
I love it. No, that scene was a true. That was a good cameo scene for him. It was
And
sad to
again,
see him go.
Scotty,
absolutely.
It was a great
having
cameo.
that too. The Scotty and Paris, I think, would work very well together of actually coming up with some very interesting things and working together for it.
That's true.
With
I'll
the
agree
rest
with
of it. And Scotty and Paris too, getting to enjoy their company as a captain too, as a command crew, I would enjoy them. Especially being around them, the rest of them who are very stern, unemotional people sometimes.
That's fair. That's totally fair. All right. Southhound, your engineering.
Well, I mean, let's all be honest. If
Scotty?
we could, we'd have an entire crew of 7 of 9s, right? I mean, like,
Security.
let's be honest.
I mean, I get kind of boring. I'll be honest. I probably wouldn't, to be honest. I think
Yeah, no.
7. Having 1 7 of 9, I think is the perfect number. I mean,
There
you
was
could
2, then they would form.
you could
There was 2,
technically
they'd
pull-
form a collective and take over.
You could
Boring.
technically say you could find every. I mean, if you're being like that, you could be like, oh, find every attractive character in the show. Then you pull up, what's the girl, Dax? Dax, the second
Oh,
one.
I was never really into her.
She looks like, you know, who she reminds me of.
was that bump.
How I Met Your
hair
How I
bump.
Met Your Mother.
Robin?
Robin. She reminds me a lot of Robin.
Schmulders.
Yes,
Colby Smulders.
she reminds me a lot of Colby Schmulders. So
Hmm.
Scotty is
That's
yours
a
there.
name.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Oh, 7 of 9.
Oh, I thought that's right. You haven't put
What
7
part?
I missed
Yeah,
that.
I mean, the reason 7 of 9 is the Borg technology alone. When she first gets on the Voyager and starts getting integrated, she's walking around. She's like, I've increased the antimatter efficiency flow by like 17%, and she's just going around making fixes and crushing it and just dynamically making her way through stuff. And I'm thinking, yeah, having someone on the ship to be able to do that and add Borg components and systematically be able to restructure core components. I mean, I don't think you could beat the information and the knowledge that she would have available to be doing that
Yeah.
stuff. Like I said,
Well,
the
I think
Delta
that's why
Flyer, adding things on the ship.
Well, and that's why I think we all have. Let's see, we all have. Obviously, there's certain characters we all have. 7 of 9 right now, and Data. we
7
all
of 9
have.
and Data. Right.
I mean, there's they're just characters that you.
they're almost not fair in characters in some ways, but
It's all good. That's okay.
I mean,
so,
they're very they're very dynamic characters that were helpful in a lot of different.
they're very smart.
facets.
I mean, in the end, when you want your team, you want people that you can work with and people who are smart. So medical for me though, we're moving on to medical now. Is you probably guessed. I mean, I don't know who else you put to personally. The Dr. EMH, Joe.
did you put Joe?
Yes.
Joe? You waited 15 years to call yourself a name and you came with
Joe.
It was her father's name.
Did you see? Yeah, the arm candy that he had, right? He's like, it was
it's
her
hilarious.
father's name.
It's hilarious. No, I like the Doctor, especially later on. His personality.
character's
He's
brilliant.
a great. You know, the actor I played him was Robert Picardo. Did a great job as him. He grew as a character throughout the show. He was very competent, and as both a character and what he could do as a Doctor. I think the whole idea of a holographic Doctor, especially on really a sentient level, holographic Doctor,
Brilliant, right?
is
it's
just great because you can't infect the Doctor. Theoretically, obviously, there's probably something like, oh, it could break him, but
computer virus type things, obviously, or something
yeah,
like
but
that.
in the general sense, like I mean, since we know he could literally put his hand into you and do things, the show never goes. The show never goes that far into it. The show never goes that far into it. But the idea, you could.
There is so much of your father in you.
But the idea that if you think about it, you could literally have him do that with like essentially almost a nano surgery level with
exactly.
of using
Sure.
precision level, and essentially he has the most steady hand of any Doctor in the universe. So
Sure.
he's literally light perfect.
Well, actually, what makes him perfect is Ledana immobile quantum vento.
But yes.
I love that. It's hysterical.
Yes, he was great. So Shepard,
To what you understand, you are a Vulcan man. You have it gone without for 7 years about. Paris, please find a way to load a hypo spray. So when I give the sign, just aim for his behind. Hormones are raging, synapses blazing. It's all so very illogical.
forgot that whole song.
Illogical.
You know,
That song is brilliant. The whole scene is
I think
hilarious.
it's that song, and then it's the song in Voyage Home where they're getting
make me
Chekhov out of the
cry.
hospital is the other song that always comes up to me for Star Trek that I always want to giggle at. You know, the one when they're trying to run out of the hospital, it's the whole like, and they're all running out trying to get,
right,
and like in
yeah.
the one
Is it
lady's
really
like,
that cheesy of a song?
But
oh
but
man,
think,
it's so funny.
I think the Doctor was singing though is just perfect because he's also singing it.
Oh, it's so good.
It's so good. So
It is so
Shepard,
good.
who is yours? Is it Doctor 2 or who is yours?
It is not actually.
Okay.
Mine is actually Dr. Bashir.
Bashir. All right.
Yeah, somebody's on a DS9 kick. I don't like it.
No, I have two.
You
No, you have to sell us on the. I will say you have to sell us on the Bashir.
So here's
one
why
because-
I'll say Dr. Bashir. because
You have
he's technically is an altered was
Is it
like
two
genetically
E's?
altered to
Yeah.
be no, it's
Right.
IR.
Was it
It's
IR?
BASHIR.
Racist.
I'm not a
But because
great-
he's
I'm not a
technically
great
genetically
speller.
he's
I'm not good.
genetically altered, and then so in that sense, then he's
That's
actually
true.
like got a far more capable mind and a far more capable body. So I would say that in
Yeah.
the sense of a lot of the doctors, he's in
It's
the
a
frontier of the
con.
medicine. I don't say he would be as strong as I agree with you, because it was really tough for me actually between honestly McCoy. For different McCoy, the doctor, and then Bashir for different reasons. Partially because McCoy, I love his attitude, and I think it'd be another fun, at least
No, McCoy's awesome.
good
I like
medical
McCoy.
doctor. He's there.
Oh, sure.
The doctor is like you're saying. The EMH is the EMH, who I think is a perfect doctor, and I like a lot of bit about him. But at least then I think of Bashir, and I go, yes, on the frontier of medicine, but I think he has the ability to be maybe more than just a doctor for part of the
Okay.
crew. So I think there was a little bit of cross training there and ability for him to be in other areas. So I felt it just well-rounded. I would say my only thing that my caveat for him would be sometimes his attitude for women. He's kind of like he would have to be my Kirk, where I'm like, okay, Bashir, knock it off. Stop hitting on 7 of 9. She doesn't want you. Calm down, little one.
Right. She's waiting for an old black lady, apparently.
Yeah. All right.
Gross.
Southhound. Your.
Yeah, this was another difficult one because, like you said, most of the characters aren't very. I mean, of all the doctors, other than maybe DeForest Kelly, Joe, the Doctor EMH, is probably by far the most interacted with character. I mean,
Yeah,
I liked
he was a
Beverly.
main character for sure. Okay, you like Beverly.
Yeah.
interesting.
Really?
Yeah, I liked Beverly, but because she was a pretty strong character when they actually showed her off, like when she gets injured on the planet and actually is survival and working really hard and blah blah blah, blah so forth and so on. I
'cause
mean,
she's
I
a
get it, they kind of
redhead.
design these things for that stuff, but
Yes.
It's because
I gotta get mine.
That's it. That's it.
I gotta get mine. I mean, 7 was great, but she might hurt me.
mine.
But I was kind of going back and forth. I would love to have Bones on there, but I think realistically, yeah, EMH definitely all the way. That's what I eventually came down to, and I figured one of you would choose them, so I didn't really want to duplicate a character. But to be honest, I just don't see, like Joel said, the skill set alone puts him above the top, but the fact that he's worked so hard to be kind of like
More.
a Data-esque character, engaging to be human and wanting to be interactive like that, and it really does show off. And it would be a lot of fun to watch
And
a
he-
7 of
and he's-
9 and a Data and a Joe play poker.
And he's not.
I mean,
he's
that
not
would just rock my world.
And in the sense of 7, well, you said even taking that I wasn't a fan of where they took 7 and Picard, writing wise, but 7 in the sense of we took the character that she was toned down to more what I think she would be, and keeping inside of more of a Starfleet type character. She's a great character, and again, she has a
didn't feel
personality.
that.
She has a personality, and the Doctor has a great personality. Like he has a sense of he has a sense of sarcasm and humor in his own way. So he's not even though he's an EMH type thing. I would say on my crew, some of your more stoic ones is like Odo, but Odo's trying to have personality too. So like I said, no one's really personality-less. So
No.
moving into our special categories. So this is my special category. I'll put what you guys have them at. So the choice of one of my first ones is ambassador on my ship, and I actually picked Picard for that position. I feel like he's very good at that. He's good at dealing with the different aliens. And if I had to deal with a tight negotiation problem or first contact thing or something like that nature, he I think is a great choice.
What is
for
our
me.
ship then?
Just
Out of
think.
curiosity,
I
what's
would say.
Because I was thinking warrior class ship was kind of where I was going with this.
I was
to be
going with like a
honest with you.
sovereign. Honestly, if you want to pick whatever ship you want, I was going with the sovereign class. I was thinking, we're talking TNG into TNG movie era, not including Picard series shenanigans. Even you could say like Picard era of the show, but not the silliness of the show. But that kind of time range. Like I said, sovereign, pick your ship, but I was going to be like, frick, I love the sovereign. If someone's like, what ship do you want? Sovereign. Other than relativity, because the relativity is time ship. So, when you start
the ship you could have is, I know, that's just like, the ship you can have, that's fine. I would have a Sovereign class too, because it's the most advanced. I don't care what they say, Picard. But apart from that, I meant the job operation, I guess, was what I was thinking.
I would say,
it's one thing to be on the first and foremost,
I would say,
but I wouldn't want to be an ambassador ship.
No, I was thinking more along the lines of like exploration ship, right? He might not be active all the time. I mean, literally, he's like I put him in, like I said, a counselor position, right? The counselor's not always being used at every setting. But again, this is like a specialty thing. I'm
the
like,
rest
okay,
of the time you
E
put him in the
class,
janitor's closet.
first contact situation. I think he's really good at that, and that's why I put him in. Like they said, I put him in the specialty. I think he's a great one. If Picard ranked out, unlike the Picard TV show where they ruined it. Picard would be an admiral ambassador. Like that's what he would be doing. Like Picard would be an admiral, and he would literally be like, "What do you do?" "Oh, I do first contact negotiations and dealings." Like that's what he would do.
Right.
He would have a sovereign cat. He would be, because there's a couple of those admirals that have sovereign classes, or they have like galaxy class ships. They're actually an admiral captain essentially. That's what Picard would be. He would be an admiral level captain who runs around doing the negotiation stuff. That's my opinion. What he would be doing, and then mixing that in on his off days, he'd be doing archaeological work with that.
But that's what you want on your ship.
Yeah,
but that's what you want on your ship.
Yeah.
Okay.
So again, you can adjust. So now I'm gonna have to adjust this really fast. Shepard, what is your first special category? And if you don't have a name for it, I can just shoot it over. But if you do, let me know, and I'll.
Well, like I said, I would have Miles O'Brien on the ship. So I guess maybe I don't know if you want to put that as like another specialist or.
Engineering specialist, maybe?
Specialist of what?
Yeah. Maintenance specialist.
Okay.
The guy's
he can clean those maintenance tubes like nobody's business.
The guy's a smart guy, and he keeps
no
everything
idea.
going on there. And like I said, like I said, I will admit, because I have been watching some DS9, so there has been moments where I get to see a few of these other characters get to do more than what they did.
I like, I don't.
But I like Miles O'Brien is a great character. He was fine for Enterprise, and then you get to see him in DS9, and he gets to do a lot more. And he was also on the front lines and on the Cardassian attack. So I think he's got some decent both battle acumen and then the ability to do what he needs to do to keep the ship going.
So question for Southtown: did you ever watch DS9? Did you ever finish it?
Yep. Watched the entire show.
When did you watch it? Just out of curiosity.
What year is it?
2020.
The year of the bat.
The year of the bat. That's funny. The year of the bat. That's funny.
That is good. That's good. That's fun.
Probably
right
about
there.
6 years. Probably about 6 years ago, I think.
The only reason I asked is because I know that when I had first watched D69 when we were younger,
it was horrible.
I wasn't a huge fan of it. However, I watched it again in the more recent last couple of years, and I definitely enjoyed it a lot more as a show. I think it's aged.
I don't like
really
the
well.
messaging. I guess I don't like a lot of the messaging, especially Cisco's lines, especially when they went all Cisco on certain parts. That was annoying, and it's like kind of in my mind, it's kind of like a go F yourselves type of mindset. I think when the Dominion War got added in, and it was far more impactful onto the show, things started to turn up, but that's because they stopped focusing on more of their weirdo agenda stuff and actually started on real type of storyline plots that were going to be more realistic to having a type of a warlike situation. That's actually why I preferred Voyager. While you had every so often episodes that made me roll my eyes, the main focus of getting home always overcame most of those things, and they had good storylines that pushed forward being a lone ship in what could be behind enemy territory. I just felt that even though a lot of people don't like Voyager as much, I felt its overall story was far more entertaining than having to trough through all the sludge on DS9.
Okay. So your category, if you have one for your... Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go for it.
No.
For it, Shep.
No, because I don't want to go too far into DS9 because I agree with you.
We'll say it with another time. DS9 conversation. Because
I guess I can put it this way. I think that DS9 tried to copy what TOS did, just definitely not with the same grace nor writing ability to maybe kind of make it less on the nose as they wanted to. For most of them, I'll put it that way. Because I know I talked to you guys about like the trouble. I think those the Trouble with Tribbles episode where they go back to it in DS9, and it's laughable that Cisco has to make a comment being like, "Oh, I didn't want to push my luck by being a captain." I'm like, okay, there was black Commodores.
In the freaking
in
23rd,
TOS, like, come
in the
on.
freaking 24th century. It's like, go bite me. Yeah, that kind of crap is like...
It was a little bit like, okay. But like I said, overall, though...
It's like
it gets to showcase a lot of the characters. That's all I'll say. Some of those characters I like to see because it's like, because I think you get to see a lot more of Worf's character in DS9 than you do in TNG. You get to see a lot in TNG, but I think they actually get to develop his character a lot more in DS9. Like I said, I said my favorite characters from DS9 really are Odo and Quark, to be honest. Odo and Quark, and then when Worf comes in later. Because they were kind of really fun characters I actually get to watch in the show. And their storylines.
I'd say the only reason to watch DS9 is if you're a completist for Q. Then you have to see DS9.
That's true.
It's funny. Okay.
Because that never hit me.
Hilarious.
I'm not
your specialty card. All right, that was a good line. I did like that.
That was pretty funny.
All right, so what's your specialist there?
All right, so my specialist is special operations, and that would be either Vulcan, but I think Tuvok would probably satisfy the position the most effectively.
That makes sense. He was already a spy for Federation.
Exactly. The guy got work done, and he's the type of guy who would feel, hey, if the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, he will get in there and lop off a head or two to get work done, especially when his captain tells him to. So Joel wants to walk around being an ambassadorial ship. I want to walk around and getting work done. I think it's a K. And
yeah, you're right.
Yep.
Phil just wants to kill people. Gosh dang it! I don't know why. Phil's like, I hate the violence in Discovery.
It sounds like Captain,
but I want to be that guy.
I never said I hated the violence.
We might have to be going after
that
his
no one
ship.
had. No. I don't have an issue with. First of all,
getting
the
sent out to
Picard
take care
was a joke.
of Southhound here.
No. I liked it when 7 of 9 killed that chick. I thought that was awesome. I'm like, yeah, you gotta lop off heads when people are freaking sacrificing people's bodies and selling them on the black market. You don't just let that type of person sit around. It's ridiculous. What I don't like is someone who kills someone in cold blood and everyone shrugs it off as like, but she made out with the captain, so
it's all good. It's all good, guys.
No biggie.
We're not talking about the blasphemy. Knock it off.
Yes. All right. So we'll move to my secondary specialist here, which is
he's my special.
You already kind of made the point. Southhound, and you'll know why. So we won't go too deep into it. Is Barclay as my advanced sciences guy? Is that he kind of rounds off in my ship? If I was to say, I would have a combination of I'd have a lot of science stuff in my ship, mostly actually too because I'd be like, yeah, my ship does have a cloaking device because that's what we do. I don't care.
Right, and because not having one is stupid.
Yeah. This the Romulans are no longer around anymore because their sun blew up. So there's no longer that Echidna core that you can't have cloaking devices. So yes, I have the cloaking devices that you transport through matter. Yeah, that's right.
I was going to say transphasic. It transphasic
cloaking
or something like that, cloak or something like that.
I would have that on my ship.
It's just such a bummer that everyone else never wanted, Starfleet to go into either, cloaking devices or time travel. Well, I guess they let them do the time travel because isn't that like the whole big, it's like, they can make, that's what I find hilarious, that Starfleet can't have cloaking devices, but then they were allowed to make time travel devices. And they were okay to go forward with that stuff.
The reason,
the agreement never said they couldn't.
I would say,
I know, but it's just saying like as an advantage, time travel or cloaking.
I would say in the
time travel or cloaking.
Right. Well, I would say in the end, the biggest reason why cloaking wasn't allowed for the Federation,
because it wouldn't have made us OP.
Everyone would just cloak.
Yeah, I think it takes away from the show itself. Again, it's one of those ones where I think the reason
Stardate 425.7, and all you're seeing is just nothing.
Roamed
flying
around
through
space. Right, exactly. Roamed around space, deflecting light around me. Awesome.
I think the reason could have been done better. But in, let's say, outside the universe, talking about the show itself, obviously the real reason is because we don't want our heroes being so, like you said, OP / like, oh, we can just cloak and go away. Because it would turn into, oh no, they jammed our cloaking device. Oh no, they're scanning through our cloak. I mean, you think of every situation, like with Voyager.
Oh no, they ran into us.
And other things.
They didn't see us.
Where having a cloaking device would take away from the story.
Absolutely.
Now, granted.
Oh yeah.
if you were actually Voyager, the first thing you would do is like, who has the Black Ops files?
Find a
to
cloak,
how to
right?
Like, because
Seriously.
when your goal is to sneak through and travel through 90 light years, you want to be doing as much, other than maybe power consumption, but the cloaking device would be a huge thing. Every time you interact with a
You just switch it out with shields.
questionable entity, you would be like, bloop, invisible.
Yep. Bloop.
So, yeah.
Hey, did you see something there? I didn't see anything there. Okay, cool.
Your special 2 there, Shepard, what is yours?
So I guess I would put it as like special operations, so Spec Ops, but then Worf.
Thief.
Gotta have Worf.
Thief.
It's Worf.
Thief. It's Wolf.
That makes sense. I mean,
he might not-
tug is soaring
he might not- he might not be the,
tempered. His energetic
Okay,
face will
all right,
be
we
ready
get it.
to resist.
Mute him. I wouldn't say he might be. I wouldn't put him on the same level as like Spec Ops, like Tuvok, in the sense of maybe like covert operations, as more of a.
but you let him do his own, kind of run his own specialty stuff. Okay, that's fine.
He's kind of my brute. Get in there, get it done.
He's a brawler. He's your personal brawler.
Master Chief, get her done.
Get her
All
done.
right. And
Worf, yes sir. Finish this fight. To walk off. That's what I want, you know.
and he does have he was. It kind of works as he was the Captain Defiant for a reason.
That's right. Ramming speed. I mean, that's all you needed to know about Worf. The tiniest ship in the fleet. He's like, I'm gonna run into this cube. I don't care. I'm gonna burn with the dogs of hell. I shall be banging on the gates of whatever the Klingon heaven was.
Stovokor.
I thought Stovokor was hell.
No, it was Stover. Yeah,
I thought Stovokor was their hell. And Stovokor, or maybe not. Maybe Stovokor was heaven.
No, I thought Stovokor was a good one. I'm trying to remember.
It might be.
Stovokor sounds right because that sounds like a happier one. 'Cause I feel like the other one. I feel like they're because
I feel like the other one was kind of like, yeah, you're like, oh, that sounds like hell.
With
All
the
right,
creepy
so-
Klingon devil in that one. It's like,
So what is yours, Southhound? What is your final specialist?
so my specialist would actually be Montgomery Scott, and he would be his technical title would be drinking buddy. But his,
I like that. We're still with that.
but
That's just pretty good.
to overcome the government, money, we'd call him my whiskey connoisseur, galley specialist. So that's where he would find himself on my ship.
Oh, that's awesome. Wait, why did that go?
Because he's retired, right? I don't need him. He doesn't need to be in engineering.
Scottish historian.
Yeah, exactly. Be like, he's retired. He can just roam around the ship, do whatever he wants. He wants to peek into engineering once in a while, smell the warp core, whatever, and then come in and give me the day's, connoisseur whiskey so that I can enjoy it before I head off into sleepy for my next shift. I think that he would make an excellent captain's companion.
Oh, really?
You want a concubine?
I want a concubine. Be like, give me my whiskey.
No, Phil. This isn't the mirror universe where all the captains have, their female that they sleep with. This isn't that.
Right.
Okay, you can't have that.
Well, I already got my engineer. I don't need another on the ship.
All right.
Oh, okay.
So, here's. I'm glad no one cheated. I have no dings on anybody. Is anybody convinced anybody else of a character they would change on their list? Shepard, I'll start with you. Is there a character after all the discussion now, or seeing some of the ideas that you would switch anybody?
Yeah, I'm always still very stuck between the Doctor and Bashir for medical.
So
that one's
maybe
been
you're medical.
That one's
Maybe
been
you're
extremely
medical.
tough for me to do, honestly.
Okay. So maybe you're
to
medical.
switch between.
Okay. So we'll say maybe
But
I'm
other
not
than
going to switch
that,
him for
nope.
you. But questionable. Okay. What about you, Southhound?
I would switch out Odo, Bashir, and Miles. I would get rid of them completely and put other characters in there.
No, for you.
We're talking about your list, not talking about my list.
Oh, not Christopher. I'm sorry, not Shepard's list.
No,
my
I'm saying,
apologies.
like, if now your list, looking at our lists, that would.
We have a different question. Can the crew deal with Captain Southhound?
Yeah.
I just thought that he's just Shepard. What'd you say about your list? Southtown. What do you think about his list? Well, I think it sucks.
Change everyone on it.
I think right as you say it too, right as you say Odo Bashir, I'm like, you don't have either of those people on there. I know what this is. Shut up.
Like, what am I missing? So,
you know,
I'd change
since
Riker.
I wasn't really, I wasn't prepared. Yeah, that's fair. I wasn't prepared for the specials. I think I like my Spec Ops for Tuvok. I think that actually would be very, very useful. You know, I like.
You don't want your drinking buddy?
You know, if I had to have an advanced sciences, I would agree. I would put 7 of 9 because that's kind of, I don't know. Astrometrics wasn't really. I mean, I get what that was for. Astrometrics was kind of their roundabout term for like she does everything science that she chooses to.
Okay, so
you know what I mean?
I convinced you that maybe 7 could have a specialty division. Is what we'd say there.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Exactly.
And he would switch Scotty up there. That's fair. So that's a pretty minor.
Well, see, that's why I put her. That's why I put her as the science officer because it's like you said, it really is very broad that she can do whatever the hell she wants between being mechanical application of it and then just understanding it and studying it.
Not if you put under science. I was talking about Joel's advanced sciences. I mean, I guess I can see this R&D. Advanced sciences looks like it says R&D to me. Like you sit in a room and all I want you to do is consider developing, insert what we need: shields, weapons, transphasic shield, you know, whatever you need to do, torpedoes, whatever that we need you to get your brain around. We don't need you to be doing with the general day-to-day like of sciences or engineering.
Why I like Barclay there.
So that's where 7 and 9 could really be helpful.
Or like a Barkley type. The only reason I didn't put 7 there instead of Barkley is I feel Barkley sucks at doing the same thing over and over again. So I agree. I would hate it. I think he sucks doing the same thing. But if you're like, hey, you have a random crappy, or not crappy, but a random hard task of something that's come up, and you're like, fix this and solve it. He's gonna be like, sweet, something that he could literally be doing his holographic hangouts. Mating sessions, and then you're like, okay, dude, we actually installed a private holodeck for you, so you can do what you need to do, and then when you're
whatever
doing
makes you happy.
But yeah, so
because wasn't he at Daystrom eventually?
I think so.
Or was it the Saturn research station? One of those ones?
He was all around. But anyway,
that's what he was doing. I think at the end it was. For the Midas array.
Well, so, he's the one who found he's the one who found the communication hubs to make.
They made the Midas array.
They made the Midas. He used the
wormhole.
The wormhole.
His idea to use the wormhole
to do
with
the
tachyon beam,
or
something like that.
You know, that was impressive. I mean, it was.
Yeah, he was very smart.
Good work.
So the only thing I would say that, having discussed it, for me, that I would consider switching around would be switching Spock and Data in mind, just reversing them. Be the only thing because you made a good point, Philip, about Data being really good at command at a second. So I'd still like Spock as at first, but if I was to switch him out with somebody, I would probably, because I don't know. Here's the thing on this, and it'd still probably put Data as third in command, which is just like he was on the Enterprise, because technically the only ranked person on our list here, excluding the last 3, medical and special 1 and 2, is your first officer. Right. So your third officer could be your tactical, your science, or navigation, or engineering. Technically, your medical.
Right, whatever position.
So I'd say if I was ordering it, I would put Data as my number 2 officer in the space. But yeah, there's one that I was like, if I would switch it, I could see switching Data and Spock. But I do like Spock as a first officer. I think he was always solid. So I don't think I'd switch it right now, but I would definitely have Spock or Data as my second in command after Spock, though. I think he'd.
Well, and the other thing is too, Spock in the original series was the first officer and science.
That's true.
It technically wasn't a subdivided position back then in that time
and
period.
That's why I kind of took all the different ones. I considered even putting operations on here, but that's why I did specialties 1 and 2, because there was, like I said, Voyager had the op station, and then TNG had a counselor. So I was like, instead of trying.
Well, the original series had communications.
That's true. Yeah.
I mean, they were kind of more like a submarine. So, I mean, the idea was that they were supposed to be more like a submarine or like a career or a destroyer, and that kind of got phased out because it's like, well, you're on the bridge and everyone's listening to communications because everything was
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It almost wasn't a necessary it would, I guess you could say, it was included in operations. Like, okay, you do the nitty gritty random things.
It's like back
it was kind of washed
then,
away.
Back then, she was the peg changer, kind of thing. She was the,
Yeah,
like, that was kind of like how it was
automated.
running. It's kind of thing.
It's called the switchboard.
Switchboard. Thank you.
Whippersnapper.
I know. It's showing my millennial years on that one.
She was playing with the pegboard when she was back there.
Don't you remember one of those with the yarn and the?
Well, but I will say, just looking at everyone's list, I don't hate anybody's. I wasn't sure if I'd hate one of your guys's.
I hate shepherds.
I don't hate shepherds. Shepherds is pretty solid. Like again,
I don't like O'Brien. He's worthless, and I don't like Bashir. I could understand Odo. Shape-shifting could become very, very handy. I could give that to you guys. I just wouldn't trust him. I'd be like, I don't trust you.
no, Odo is so.
You
why?
shape-shifting
What?
changeling.
We're looking at the place that we know he are. He's so trustworthy. Freaking Odo's
Yeah,
awesome. Anyway,
yeah, he'd be beyond it. No, and like I said, I can understand again where you guys, for the doctor for it, but again, I just think that Bashir is
fine.
extremely intelligent and he has just about as steady as a hand as a human can have without having to be a hologram. And then there's the idea that
He
the
can't
sense
sing.
of that.
but the one thing we don't have that I thought we might have is we don't have
and he
we don't
plays
have
tennis.
we don't have anybody on the same position, which is interesting. So that's pretty good though.
Country club. Well, we do with the doctor.
Oh, the doctor. Yeah. So you
Those-
and me only
those-
one.
that-
Like I said, the thing is, you couldn't switch out the doctor with anybody else. It wasn't like you were going to stick Janeway or something into the position of doctor. You only had a small pool to
That's
choose
true. That's true.
Yeah.
Because the other
I mean,
ones
you
you
came-
could switch
you came
around
down
a
to-
little more consistently.
I mean, yeah, you come down to Bones, the EMH, Crusher,
She had four
Pilecki.
doctors.
Because remember, there was the
You
second
could've
second
Polanski.
medical officer on it. Polanski. There you go.
Polanski.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then Bashir, and then Agnes Girardi.
Shut up. You're right. And here's our local executioner. She kills whoever she wants. We don't tell her to.
Don't
You
bring
know,
any
she's kind of
sense
a
by her.
wild
She's
card.
kind of weird about that.
Yeah, right? Just don't find yourself, just when she's looking over you at the middle of the morning, just punch her. That's it. She's
So
going to kill you.
moving past that, is there any?
Can I
list you
actually
guys
say
want-
one person
No,
I did
go
think
ahead.
about? I will
ahead.
say one person that I did think about in a fun way, and was actually bringing in the original #1 from TOS's pilot. So I know she later plays the computer, and she's
just
Troy,
kind of
but it's
see,
like
digging like that. It's like, nah, it's not even really that.
there wasn't enough to really go there, but I do, because she was kind of a fun first officer, and I think she would have been pretty good on something. But it came down to a lot of the TOS people. I love them a lot, and I think they're awesome characters. But then when I'm still in the end kind of thinking about the sense of time and that I'm in a future area, I guess it's kind of like
Yeah, because
that sense
what
that they
you
would have
brought
to
up-
understand 100 years more. I'm like, I know it's like we're all putting them together, but at the same time, I kind of went,
Yeah,
but some of these people are already in the space that would know it.
I
didn't worry about that because that's not what that was about.
Yeah, I agree with Phil.
I know, but it was
you
like,
had to.
but it kind of was in my mind. Like I said, that like for me, for Scotty, was still easy because it's like, dude, the guy makes everything. Everything's still based off of some of his
I get what
design,
you're
so I don't
saying.
really see it as
I would
much.
say the hard thing on a lot of the original characters, you don't have as much time with them as some of the other ones, right? There's only 3 seasons of original series.
Yeah.
and
The
yet they
movies
still go
actually
into some
do
of the
more.
characters. Yeah,
Versus, and then you
I'd
have
say the movies do a greater job of developing the characters than the series does because there was more of them.
yeah.
Oh,
they
yeah.
did a-
Well, I mean,
yeah.
because
I mean, there's good ones,
Chekhov
but yeah,
really
it was
wasn't. Chekhov, you'd even think of as a main crew member in TOS. He was kind of just more.
No.
Like
Well, he
was
wasn't
kind
even
of
there
more
for a
around
season.
for a season. I think he doesn't come until like season 2, like halfway through or something like that.
Yeah,
so
so-
it's like
but
they were
that's what
more
I'm saying.
rotating as them, and then the movies kind of went, nope, here's your crew. And
Well, that's what I mean.
kind of,
So
you
in
know, get to
later
see 'em.
stuff, there's a better, with TNG, kind of the formula was down, because that's the difference. Is the original series was creating the formula, TNG was, I would say, relatively perfecting the formula, and then Voyager and Deep Space Nine was tweaking the formula from different perspective on it, in the sense of what they are.
Yeah.
So they had more time. And you said you had 7 seasons with Voyager? Was it 7 seasons?
Seven.
Yeah, it was 7 seasons. And DS9,
So
I think
the question is,
7.
is there any characters
8.
that you guys forgot about that either someone reminded you of, or that was like we were
Barkley.
thinking about, like, oh, I could have included them. Yeah, I figured you. I figured you forgot Barkley.
It's maybe
I know
like,
Barkley
think
was a pullout. Barkley was one of those ones that I
kinda
was like,
came
I
out-
wonder who's going to do Barkley.
like when you did say Barclay, I went, oh, okay, but it's like I kind of I didn't see where he'd fit. To be honest, like I get a lot of it, but there was a little bit of crew dynamic that was kind of the play for me.
That's why he's my
he didn't come
specialist.
into my mind first for anyone as a bridge crew.
The only one for me that didn't even cross my mind is Bashir. For some reason, that character has never stuck with me.
I guess I excluded that show, but I didn't like sit down and make a list of all the different characters. I guess they all just I just kind of sat there and pondered and was able to get a list. I don't think we mentioned anybody that I hadn't already considered in my mind previously. I mean, even Miles, even O'Brien, I realized I was like on TNG. I was like, because I was just thinking faces that I've seen. I'm like, no. I mean, I remembered when Sarek was on TNG. And I was like, that's funny. But I was like, he wasn't really a crew member and he continued on with life, you know. It was just... Spock or Tuvok couldn't accomplish.
Yeah, exactly. So. Somebody who's established.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, right. Well, there's two characters I knew we weren't going to see. I knew we weren't going to see Harry Kim, and I knew we weren't going to see Neelix. Because those, you know, I knew that. Yes. Cass.
Yeah.
She's pretty bad. No, they didn't know what to do. No. Right. Yeah, it was creepy.
She was 2.
It actually got creepy. Yeah, that's. I think it eventually
like the one where she because of some kind of like hormonal change that's happening outside and like the stuff. Then she like starts going. She's like, I'm gonna be birth. She's like, I'm only like 2, and you're kind of like, that's weird. You just shouldn't. Just maybe don't. I know, but it's still like she was super young looking. He definitely looked older looking, and then they're like, yeah, no, let's do it. And you're like, oh.
I'm surprised Christopher didn't choose Chakotay because he likes Chakotay apparently.
I do like Chakotay, but I just didn't because you know what? That's I mean, when it came down to
Janeway in navigation,
she would have been
I
okay for
considered putting
science,
Janeway in
honestly, in
navigation,
some
too.
way. She was a science officer before being captain. She was actually one of the science too. But again, sometimes, like I said, for me, I didn't want to put any captains anywhere. I just, like I said, that was my kind of reasoning. Is I just don't want the captains on my ship. I don't want someone else who's a captain.
I did too. I thought she was great.
Oh yeah,
she's actually she's number 2 on my list. Don't you have to be though?
I gotcha.
I've never heard of that. No, she
Oh
wouldn't.
yeah, no, she wouldn't have.
No.
No.
Even Kate Mulgrew wouldn't attach her name to that. she's like,
I mean,
are you out of your mind?
Because I mean,
But she's crazy.
Because I think she was just doing one of the cruises too. She was like doing some of the cruises and stuff lately, so she's still enjoying being attached to Star Trek at some level. So she might have actually been like, I'm not touching that.
Oh yeah.
She was like.
Yeah, I would say bleed blue, right? White with the blue is kind of their logo. So bleed blue would be fine.
Yeah, bleed blue.
No, Kirk, he did his own. He wasn't. There were things he disagreed with, and he wasn't. Okay, perfect example. Picard and Janeway were kind of. It was like the prime directive, and all the directives are something that should be held on to even at the worst times. And Kirk was a little more pragmatic and realistic. It's like, well, it's there as a guideline, but we can't legislate every single thing we're going to run into and then expect to work by those protocols.
Well, and I think at least what was helpful for Janeway at least too was she was put in extraordinary situations, but then there was kind of that sense of like being the only ones out there, sometimes kind of being the flagship of showing what the Federation was, at least in kind of that staying true to yourself, more or less, at least kind of sometimes at least felt somewhat practical, sometimes not for certain moments where it's like, oh, we're going to do this. And you're like, but then then I like about it that she actually kind of, she has to deal with those decisions. Like it's brought up like a couple times within Star Trek for Voyager, like after she destroys the caretaker array.
But see,
then,
they
like
cheated.
the different. Well, no, because there's a few times where then there's like something else that happens there, and she's like, I don't know if I can do this to my crew again. I don't know if I can actually, like I followed the Federation thing once, and I don't know if I can do it again. I don't know if I could put my crew through it again, saying that I'm going to put someone else ahead of them. And it's like, so at least like there's moments where like you get to see her where you would never see that from Picard. Picard never has a moment of going like, nope, I'm Picard.
Yeah,
like,
but see, he was never put in the position.
Janeway sometimes has
technically, neither was Janeway. Let's be honest. Every single time she made the quote unquote righteous decision, the story would write itself around protecting that. And then you ran into that. Remember that when you ran to that ship later where the other captain had been captured, and they were just trying desperately to get home, and they had captured those space beans and done those things, and they completely raked those guys over the coals about it. Because they're like, Janeway's like, well, I would never have to do that. It's like, yeah, but you've also been written that you've never had to do that. And the few times that you did have to, they changed time twice.
That's true.
They changed time. True.
Yeah.
They were like dumb race, come on. It's like killing bats, I know, I get it. Star Trek rules. I'm just saying, Janeway never really had to, except for when she did, and then they would always rewrite the rules. Like when she did the time thing, they re-erased the entire time passage when the guy was messing around with time. Or when the end game, it's old Janeway that takes the rules into her own hands and lets young Janeway stay self-righteous and do her thing. You know what I mean?
I get you.
Yes. I never felt Picard was self-righteous. I felt he was weak. I just felt he was kind of a... Yeah, he was never like that.
No,
he was principled. He was principled, but yeah, I mean, Janeway was like on a quest to be like, even though we're stuck here, we're gonna prove the Federation way. You know, that was kind of her way. And Picard never behaved like that. Yeah, she was. Don't get me wrong. And like I said, she's my second favorite captain because I just enjoyed it.
Like I said,
I guess
I
felt Picard was
just
just
strength
like
for her. I think she found some strength, or maybe like to her to kind of keep strength was saying like I need to hold to the Federation,
right. Stick to my
was kinda
principles.
Was kind of her way of staying strong in there. So I that's where I have to give her a little bit of that. I wouldn't maybe say like as much like there's moments where she does be self-righteous about it, but I think sometimes it's like and I think she says it in the show too, it's like if we let go of this, then we're not going to make it back. Because if we falter from those kind of things, then I don't know if we'll be able to survive. And I go, okay, you know, obviously it's a little bit of saying it there, but I'm like, I do partially get saying we need to stay to our principles. We need to stay to that so we can try to survive and not just say, it's all out in the wind. We're just a crew of, you know, bunch of hooligans out somewhere else and we're just going to deal with it. Keeping structure. Yeah. I mean,
Exactly.
it's not like, you know, yeah.
Yeah, but like I said, there's a difference
change
between sticking to your principles, and this is why I think Picard never came off as self-righteous, because, I mean, I think a perfect example of him not being self-righteous was Nemesis. I mean, who wouldn't want to just take back their ship and get the crew back and wipe out the douchey Borg? And then he has this obnoxious woman who's like, you gotta stop hunting for your whale. And you're like...
you mean First Contact.
I'm like... Oh, I'm sorry. I meant First Contact. My apologies. I love
like
the scene.
that
I love
scene.
Picard. No, that's my point. See, Picard's brilliant. Her response is totally obnoxious. But I'm just saying, he wasn't being self-righteous. He was standing on a principle. He wasn't being self-righteous.
Here's the thing. I agree with everything that he says in there, but the fact that he does not want to just self-destruct the ship is a little bit of him being is still him being a little bit self-righteous and stubborn.
I don't see it self-righteous.
Well, it's him being stubborn. I'll put it that way. It's him being too stubborn for the moment, and I understand why she says, "Okay, you got to go hunt your whale." So. Yeah, I mean that's that's pretty much what he's saying is we're gonna go.
So how come it wasn't okay for him to do that, but it was okay for him to sacrifice his life to save Data instead? I mean, you can't have it both ways. Sacrifice his life to go save Data? That was the whole point. That's why he sets the ship on self-destruct. He knew the chances of him saving Data was going to be pretty slim.
Well, yeah, but then his motivation at that point was saying he left someone behind, and you're right, I can't leave anybody behind. So it was him kind of almost agreeing with what she said earlier too.
The ends don't justify the means, you mean?
And secondly, the first moment he still has the whole crew on the ship and he hasn't ordered evacuation. The second time their people are evacuating, so it's no longer him keeping his entire crew on the ship going to get killed. It's now everyone's leaving, but I do want to try to save my friends. So there's a huge difference in motivation between those two moments. Yes.
Swish list. So please leave in the comments below if you think that Shepard's list sucks, and also what you would have on your crew for your list.
Or let us know which list you liked the most.
We will read your list if you make one earnestly. There's only going to be like 4 people, so we will read it. Maybe more. I'd feel a little let down if I got Odo and Bashir. I really would. I would miss the Doctor. I mean, seriously, I would. That would suck.
Fair. I mean, I it'd be easier to maybe understand your criticism if it just didn't seem like a typical, middle brother trying to bag on the little brother. So maybe if there was actually
I would
some,
bag on Joel's, but I don't like Odo either. But on the other hand, I wouldn't lose the Doctor. And I have to admit, I wouldn't like Picard on my ship, but if I locked him away to like play his little flute and go read his Shakespeare and go talk to himself in a corner, whatever.
Remember, viewers, what we said at the beginning of this, that this was all about that two of our lists were wrong, and Southhounds was right, because that's how it always has to go.
I'm the winner.